In the 19th century, there was a Prussian officer by the name of Gerhard von Scharnhorst. Scharnhorst was not only an excellent soldier, he was a visionary leader. He recognized that the performance of the army revolved around the military competence of whoever the king was, which was great if Frederick the Great was still the king of Prussia. It was great if you were in France and Napoleon Bonaparte was your leader. But unfortunately, there are a lot of incompetent kings who really don't have any business leading armies. And so he came up with an idea. He knew that the Prussian military needed to be reformed. And he was given that opportunity after Prussia lost in a battle. So he was appointed with a number of other army officers to come up with some ideas for strengthening the army. Scharnhorst realized, you know what? We've got to create a system that will lead to success regardless of who the king is. We need to reform and create an organization and an operation that is going to support whoever is the king, whoever the generals are. Unfortunately, many of the other men on this task force were officers who were part of the aristocracy. And the aristocracy was largely against continuing education. Their solutions to all the problems was, we just need more discipline. We just need to drill our soldiers even more. Whereas Scharnhorst recognized, no, we need more than that. We need to create and institutionalize military excellence. We need to produce soldiers who are more than disciplined. We need to learn from our enemies. What made Napoleon so great? It was when the enemy was retreating, he and his men would continue to pursue them and crush them thoroughly. He said, we need to start adopting some of these principles. In addition to discipline, we need to produce soldiers who have imagination, who see possibility, and who take the initiative when they see that. Now, even though he received a lot of pushback on that first kind of reforming team, along the way, because he was such a great visionary, because he was such a great leader, he developed some disciples who, when they were promoted, they began to catch the vision that he had and implement some of those principles to bring about those reforms that he knew needed to happen. And historians agree that the military excellence of Prussia and the military excellence of Germany in the world wars go all the way back to the Reformation vision of this man, von Scharnhorst. In addition to Scharnhorst, you can find other visionary, capable leaders, right? Who can come in and not only change a team, not only change an institution, but can change an entire nation. When I think of a contemporary example, I think of the great quarterback Tom Brady in the National Football League. Before he came to the New England Patriots, they had a tradition of losing. They appeared in one Super Bowl where they got thoroughly demolished by the Chicago Bears. And after Tom Brady became their starting quarterback, they won six Super Bowls. And then he left there and went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are synonymous with losing, who rarely sniff the opportunity to make the playoffs. And yet in his first season, Tom Brady took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Super Bowl and won. One individual can make a massive difference in strengthening an organization, making it better, making it more efficient. Conversely, one man, one woman can introduce cancer into a system, who can ultimately implement rot and lead to decay. We're going to be looking at a story in 2 Kings, where a very unwise decision gave someone the opportunity to come to power and introduce institutional rot. The last time we were in 2 Kings, we read about King Jehu, the king who didn't go quite far enough. However, King Jehu was used as an instrument of the Lord's will to fix a lot of the problems in the northern kingdom, Israel. He was used of the Lord to purge the land of its worship of the Canaanite fertility god, Baal. In addition to that, he swept away the dynasty of Omri. The most notable king of the house of Omri was the wicked king Ahab. Jehu wiped out all of the rest of Ahab's descendants. However, when we get to 2 Kings chapter 11, the view goes from the north down to the south. We are reminded that Jehu did not simply kill the king of Israel, he also killed the king of Judah, Ahaziah, who was with the king of the north, operating with the king of the north. Chapter 11, verse 1. When Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, again, the king of Judah who had just been slain by Jehu, when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she rose and destroyed all the royal offspring. What a wicked woman. To kill all the royal offspring means that she kills all of her grandchildren. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jehoram, the sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons who were being put to death, and placed him and his nurse in the bedroom. So they hid him from Athaliah, and he was not put to death. So one heir of Ahaziah actually lives. So he was hidden with her in the house of the Lord 6 years while Athaliah was reigning over the land. How did Athaliah get the opportunity to commit these acts of atrocity? Well, she was well placed, and it took time. It did not take place overnight. We could go back to chapter 8, just 3 chapters before this. One time, she was just a princess, but she was no ordinary princess. She was the princess of Ahab. The king of Judah, Jehoshaphat, got along well with King Ahab, and he had his son married to this princess, Athaliah. And so this brought the houses of the north and the houses of the south much closer to each other. And we find out that Jehoshaphat's son walks in the ways of the kings of Israel in the north. Why? Because he married Athaliah, the daughter of Ahab. Now, that king's son, Ahaziah, what chance does he have? Okay, so his father walks in the wicked ways of King Ahab, and his mother is the daughter of King Ahab, probably the daughter of Jezebel as well. What kind of a chance does he have? Well, he becomes a wicked king as well. And so this is how Athaliah was able to remain in the house of the king. She undoubtedly had incredible influence, that after her son was killed, that she was able to use her power and influence to get rid of her son's children so that she alone could reign as monarch. Wow, what a weighty decision the king of Judah, Jehoshaphat, made in arranging for his son to marry the wicked King Ahab's daughter. I mean, there's no way he could have envisioned how that one singular choice of arranging that marriage would not only endanger his line, but would endanger the throne of David that God established. A marriage that would lead his son to walk in the ways of his father-in-law, Ahab, that would lead his grandson, Ahaziah, astray. A decision that was responsible for the disaster that we find in 2 Kings chapter 11. It's unbelievable. But imagine this. Imagine if he would have arranged for his son to marry a godly woman, a woman that would encourage his son to walk in the ways of the Lord and to be humble and listen to the words of the prophets that the Lord sent to the kings of the north and the kings of the south. How much better off would his life have been, but that of Judah as well? There's no way he could have envisioned the weightiness of that decision. But he chose unwisely, and many suffered for it. I think this serves as a warning to us that when we are facing important, life-changing decisions, that we seek the face of the Lord, that we don't do what is necessarily politically expedient, that we don't necessarily do what the world would have us do. No, let's get input from the Lord. Let's see what he would like. He can certainly lead us in a way where we can make a godly, wise choice that would benefit not just us, but benefit other people as well. Maybe we would see the fruit of our choice immediately, but maybe it would take months. Maybe it would even take years. It certainly took years before Athaliah had that opportunity to try to seize the throne for herself. Lord, have mercy on us as we make important decisions. In this story so far, we have some good and we have some bad. The good is that the true king of Judah is still alive. Joash's life is being preserved in the house of the Lord. Sadly, though, Athaliah, who was once a princess of the north, is now the monarch of the south. She's the illegitimate ruler of Judah. Something's got to give. Well, in the 7th year of her reign, there's a priest in the temple by the name of Jehoiada, and he knows about Joash. He asks that the captains of the Karaites come and meet him. We're not exactly sure who the Karaites were, but most likely they were mercenary guards who were entrusted with guarding both the temple and the palace. And Jehoiada speaks to the captains of the Karaites, and he asks them to take an oath, to which they do. And then he brings out in their midst, there in the temple, the true king of Judah, Joash. And he comes up with a plan for introducing the nation to its true king. And this involves the Karaites. Things go according to the plan that he has set. The Karaites and these hundreds of guards come into the temple of the Lord. Joash is brought out in the midst of them, as well as other people who are worshiping in the temple. And he is crowned. And these guards are armed. And they begin to shout, "Long live the king." Well, this gets the attention of Athaliah, who's in the palace. And she comes out to the temple. And when she is seen, Jehoiada the priest commands the Karaites to seize her and have her and everyone else who follows her to be killed. He does say, though, don't kill her in the temple of the Lord. So they drag her out of the house of the Lord and they kill her. And now Joash, the true king of Judah, has ascended to the throne. How did this happen? Now, it's easy to look at Jehoiada. It's easy to look at the sister of Ahaziah, who sprung into action and saved little Joash's life. Yes, they deserve some credit, but I really believe the Lord was exercising his sovereign power to preserve the life of Joash. Even though he's not, really mentioned in this chapter, if we were to go back 3 chapters earlier to chapter 8, we see that the Lord is at work. Even as the king of Judah begins to turn away from the Lord and follow in the ways of Ahab, the Lord is not going to allow disaster to befall Judah. I'm going to read this to you in verse 19. In response to the king of Judah doing the wrong thing, verse 19 of chapter 8, however, the Lord was not willing to destroy Judah for the sake of David, his servant, since he had promised him to give a lamp to him through his sons always. So the Lord is committed to preserving the line of David, and to preserve that requires saving the life of little Joash. This is a reminder for us that even when we and other people make terrible choices, even wicked decisions, and are not worthy of the mercy of the Lord is often at work in the background, orchestrating so that his will may be done. Hopefully we can draw some comfort from that, right?